Hi, I'm Fred Satilli, and this is the Voters Union of Accountability Nation. For those of you who've watched and listened before, you know we're all about honesty, common sense, and most of all, accountability. And today what we're going to talk about is asking the right question. You can't get the right answer if you ask the wrong question. And right now we have a question bouncing around America about police brutality. And so I decided to start to gather facts. And I did some reading on Vox and on the Henry J. Kaiser Family Foundation and on the Atlantic. And I looked up white people and black people in poverty. And what I found was 15.7 million Americans who are white are in poverty. 7.4 million people in poverty are black. There are more than twice as many white people in poverty as there are black. That was interesting for me to find that out. Well, killing is bad, and the question is, who gets killed? I found that 52% of people killed by police are non-Hispanic whites. Now, it's not in my notes because, I go off script like crazy, but I didn't even realize until just a moment ago that 52% is more than half. So actually, white people are killed more than 52%, more than all the rest of the races combined. All the rest of the races combined are 48%, whites are 52%. Now, regarding black people, 26% of cop killings are black. And interestingly enough, again, 52 divided in half is exactly 26. So exactly half of police killings are black as opposed to whites, or you could say conversely, white people are killed twice as much as black people. The question often asked is, why do police kill so many black people? That's the wrong question. The question should be, why do cops kill so many poor people? And the answer is simple. It's because those killings happen as a result of street crime. The police aren't called in for embezzlers. The police are called in for break-ins, those kind of crimes. Drug-crazed executives don't run down alleys when they're busted for insider trading, but people who rob 7-Elevens do. And when they do, that's when they're going to meet the police. Killing people is bad. The police, more than anything, engage poor people. It's not a person's race that creates the confrontation. It's the kind of crime that they're committing. And it's how they act when confronted by the hypervigilant police officer. Their action action is very frequently part of the problem, and that's undeniable. It's true. We're trying to be honest here at VUAN, right? Now, I reached this poverty-based conclusion years ago, but recently a new wrinkle was added to the story. We got the Wuhan flu. Now you know. I read an article in the Washington Post by good old Vanessa Williams, and she said in the article, 22% of American counties are predominantly black. 60% of Wuhan flu deaths occurred there. Again, poverty? What do you think? You have people jammed in together, high density situation as opposed to way out, in some beautiful community out in the country where people hardly even get 1,000 feet away from their next neighbor. She made a quote from in the article in the Washington Post And the quote is, socioeconomic factors such as employment status and access to health care were better predictors of infection and death rates than underlying health conditions. What's your conclusion? Race or poverty? I'm asking. Frankly, between you and me, I think we should be addressing poverty. Being poor is not good for anybody. That's one of those sentences that's hard to argue with, right? You know, I think of Fiddler on the Roof, where the guy says, it's no shame to be poor, but it's no great honor either. Anyway, in the next sentence, I'm going to use the word comfortable, and everybody will misconstrue my meaning, so we'll come back to it, and I'll define my meaning. Here's the sentence. If everybody was comfortable enough that they were not compelled to commit crimes, hell, we could defund the police. There would be much less need for them, right? It makes sense. It's logical and reasonable. And if you're a criminal, whether a policeman who's a criminal or a civilian who's a criminal, it's you who are the problem. It's you who create the need for police. It's the act of an individual. Now, comfortable. What do I mean by that? I'm not talking about a soft, cozy sofa or a yummy snack. I'm talking about a place in society. We have a terrible education system. There's an idea that you can get an education. This is wrong. An education is not a thing. It's not one day you didn't have one, you took some time, you paid for money, and now you have one and it's a negotiable asset. That's not how it works. These schools get you in there, they talk about stuff for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, and then they spank you out the door telling you that you're prepared for success, but you are not. You go into a world that doesn't care about that. You go into a world where you're going to face heavy competition from other people who are looking for those jobs. You're going to run into insanely unreasonable employers. In many cases, you're going to be already in debt, so you're going to be looking for that job in a position of almost begging, you know. And you're going to find that when you go into that market, you're going to find a wildly changing or regionally changing or a very prejudicial job market. And when I say prejudicial, everybody, boom, an idea goes in their head. They pull onto the entrance ramp, get on the highway, step on the gas because they know what prejudicial means. That's not what I'm talking about. Here's a good one for you. You go to school, you're totally qualified, you know your subject, you grew up right in the town, you've been an American all your life, you apply for a job, but they're only hiring bilingual applicants. So you are out. Here's another one. It's very common nowadays, and it's hurting people. And that is that, once again, hey, you're totally qualified. We like you, but we're only looking for a woman. Just how would you feel if you were a woman and you went in to apply for a job and they said, "Oh, you're totally awesome. Good grades, nice presentation. We really like you, but little lady, we need a man." I mean, if that occurred, it'd be on the front page of the paper. The next day, that company would be sued. There'd be all kind of problems, you know, especially if you were a woman of color and they told you that. Okay, so it's out there. People are talking about that the police may need to have a different approach, you know, and I don't know that that's up for debate. But I'm here to assert that schools need to adopt a different approach. And what I'm saying is they need to evaluate each human at a very young age. Start evaluating them at a very young age and find out what their aptitude is and create a path of life for them where they can become successful. Not everybody learns at the same rate or learns with the same method. And not everybody has the same goals. One of the big problems, again off script, one of the big problems we have is we judge value of a person by their, more or less their cash value, their income value or something like that. And that is no way to judge a person. Some people are very happy with very little. They're happy to take a menial job at a young age and stick with that for the rest of their life and do a real good job of it. And they're a success at that, and they're at peace with that, and they're wonderful people, and there's no reason to think of them as somehow less successful or second-class citizen. That person might be more successful than some high-paid executive guy who goes crazy, has an ulcer, and then kills himself. I don't call that a success. So who's the better person? What makes more sense to you? Who would you rather be? You know? So I have a frightening statistic here, and that is this. The United States Army, by law, can't accept anybody with an IQ under 83. IQ is a measure of intelligence. It's not a measure of value. We have 10% of our population, of our people, of our Americans, of our own people, of us, of our sisters and brothers, 10% of our people don't make that mark. They have an IQ lower than 83. This 10% means that 33 million people in our country aren't even qualified to join the Army. And they can't be disregarded. They're us. They need the same satisfaction from life that we have to feel good about themselves and to be comfortable in their life, knowing that they're valuable and that they're respected. We have to find a place for them where they can be happy and proud. Now, good old Martin Luther King really said it well. I don't quote him too often, but what he said was, he should sweep the streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. And that almost brings a tear to my eye, because I knew such a man. When I lived in Singapore, they don't have welfare there. The government gives you a job. And in my neighborhood, there was an old man who was partially disabled, and he was pretty old. And he was out there raking leaves. They had a lot of, it's the tropics. They're dropping leaves. I mean, there's trees everywhere. And this guy raked up and bagged leaves from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, took a lunch break. He was a real nice guy. I said hello to him every day on my way off, to do my business and everything. And that was a guy who, he was a dignified gentleman. He always certainly expressed that to me. So then we have the people who can truly never be productive. And those are people that also, they need dignity. We have to care for them in an environment where they realize that we love them just as much as we love, some hard-charging, successful man or woman. And I'll tell you, we have the resources to do this. I know the people who can do this. My mother's in a nursing home, and the care that she gets there, the respect and the dignity, and she's not the worst person there. Some of those people are a real handful, and I see these compassionate ladies and men take care of those people as if they love them. Sometimes I think they do, and I hold them in awe, because I don't know that I have that capacity to be that compassionate. I'd like to think I do, flatter myself that way, but that would be an interesting experiment. Anyway, human dignity. And I can guarantee you this. Nobody feels dignified who has a life of crime. So we're talking about poverty, and poverty is not just money. I'm not saying grab a bunch of people and give them money, because that does not help. We have a real poverty of human compassion in our society. And by that, I mean, it's especially true of these mercenary schools. In many, many cases, they take your money and give you nothing, and they know it, and they know that they're cheating you. They know they're ripping you off. They don't give a damn about you. They treat you this way. It's undignified. If it was evaluated at the street level, there'd be real hell to pay. You know, you took my money and gave me nothing. I spent all this time and money, and I can't get a job, and I'm in an undignified position. It's absolutely outrageous. And the pandering politicians are just as bad. You know, anybody doing anything for people of color is nothing but a racist. If you don't believe me, look it up. I don't want people doing things for people of color. I want people doing things for everybody. I don't want to be identified as a person of color. I am a person of color. My color is white. I have black neighbors. I have a black and white neighbor over here. I have black neighbors here. I have white neighbors across the street. The lady the lady who lives over here diagonally across from me takes in handicapped orphans, 2 and 3 at a time. She's once again compassionate, dignified little kids, 2 and 3 years old, who have some kind of impediment or whatever, and she takes care of them. How sweet is that? How sweet is that? And this whole people of color thing it's just made for division, and it's made to exploit them and take money, surreptitiously, as if they're doing something noble, but in fact they're not. They're just profiteers. It's a disgrace. It's undignified for black people or Hispanic people or anybody identified as a person of color. I'd resent it if I was that person. And then there's the good old court system. You want to talk about undignified? Brutal. For me, race isn't even an issue. I live in Compton. My neighbors are everything. I have everybody. I don't even know what they are, and I don't care, because they sure are. I've been here 13 years, and I've never had a problem. And I can tell you, I don't care about your race, not one bit. What I do care about is that you're not poor. I don't want my neighbors to be helpless and hopeless and desperate. It's horrible. And for me, the very root of the bitter tree is poverty. When it comes to police killing, I don't think we're asking the right question.